All right, guys. I told y'all I was going to make a little video of what I look at on Google Earth. I think I'm going to start out by showing y'all the lake I grew up fishing. This Green Lake right here, Green Lake, Texas. Zoom out to give you an idea where we're at. There's Port O'Connor, Seadrift, Victoria, Texas, Port Lavaca. But this lake, my dad started fishing it, and I know I said in the last video it was 30 years, but man, altogether it was 50 years or more. But my brother and I were in it, for the last 30 years or whatever. And yeah, it was a lot of fish caught out of this lake. I'll probably make a different video with a couple of pictures now that I know how to video off of my screen on my computer, that I can pop them pictures up and give you a little sight. So I'm not going to talk too much about this. This is going to be dedicated for looking for spots from Google Earth. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to give away a couple of spots for you guys if you're in this area to try. Now, if you go, you don't catch nothing, please don't get angry with me. These are spots. This is a spot I've been a lot of times. I put in here at 6 Mile. I like to use this boat ramp because it's just a little short. If you put in here, you got to pedal all the way down and out. You put in here, and it's up to you if you want to shoot straight across to Plasto Creek, which I did a lot of times. Sometime I would shoot straight across to here, and I would, if the wind was early in the morning, wasn't blowing or whatever, you work this bank. There's a lot of tules and grass and stuff right next to here, and you just cast along the edge here, and I have caught redfish along here pretty good at times. Well, you get up here into the lake, Plasto Creek, and just, you work the edges here. Keep your eyes open. I've run across them tailing up against the banks all through here at times. If you're the first one there early in the morning, it's real quiet, and this mainly in the summer. I hadn't been there in the winter, but I know that in the winter time, the trout will come up here on the cold days and lay down in this water, because water doesn't circulate much, only with the tide kind of coming in and out a little bit, but no running water most of the time unless we get a lot of rain up there. This is a good cut right here. I've caught redfish in it. It's just not real big. You got one shot. You come in, you come around here, and most of the time I cut around this corner here, and I've seen them more than one time. They'll be laying up here with their tails out of the water, but you got one shot, because once you catch one, it spooks up this. It's just such a little area. Come in here, you can go in here the same way. I've caught a big oversized redfish right here one morning. Just to note, there's oyster shells right here, so don't throw no cast net over there. You ruin your net. All right, get across here. This is a good ditch. Of course, it's big enough for big boats to get in too, but it's just not a lot of boat traffic up there most of the time. But all these little creeks, you can go up this thing right here. It's pretty good. It's pretty good all the way up here, and I have never seen a boat up in it. Never. So, not saying you won't run across some, but you might. Now, this little lake back here, it always had redfish, but it's lots of grass. So you're gonna have to fish top water, weedless, and it's really hard to fish. But if you do come up here, be sure and to kind of get your bearings, know where you come in, look at your little islands here, because it's real easy to get turned around. I got turned around one time in it. I ended up going out this way thinking I was going out that way. And yeah, you're looking at it from here. So, well, how did you get turned around? Well, just trust me. It looks different when you're on the water. Got all the way over here, and I noticed there was a tree in the water right here, and I know I didn't go by it. So I said, man, what is the deal? I went up this way thinking that, like I say, it's really hard to tell. But anyway, I went all the way up to where it runs out of water up here, and I had to turn around and come all the way back. And I said, well, I'll come back this way. Then I hit the creek again. Here's a little creek. You can come up a little bit. It's fair. And redfish and trout are caught regularly along the edges here. So that's a place y'all might try if you're looking for a new place to explore. If you're really energetic and you want to paddle a long way, you can come across here. And if it's not real rough, I would say you can go up. Well, you can follow this bank around, go up in here, and it's just you're getting really far to go that way. But I have cut across, and I've come up here, and you go up into here, up into all this. Has been known. I've caught some redfish up here, but it's just mainly showing you guys what I look for. And I love these little creeks like that. You got this point right here is normally pretty good for a few fish on both sides. Wintertime, this bank is kind of your calm side, and plus you coming downwind with the north winds blowing, to get back there. But so that's one kind of outright spot I'll show you now. I'm more than showing you spots. I'm just showing you some things that places to look for. Another spot is I know, get y'all dizzy here. Here we go. Powderhorn Lake. There's a road that comes down here. You got to get to it from Port Lavaca Road, the one that goes down Magnolia Beach. It cuts off at Jack and Jill's there, and you comes around, and you find this. Of course, you can find it on your map as well. Now they're putting a new bridge here. This looks a little different. There's a new bridge on this side already formed. And by now they may be through with it, but they've been working on it for a while. But last time I went, I parked right here, threw it in here. I went up into here. And, there's fish up in here too. I went all the way through this thing here. But I wouldn't do that. Next time I go, or if I didn't have my skiff and I wanted to go somewhere, I got to look in here. I'm saying, look at this. It's just right there. It's just a short paddle. But I would check this out. I know they just dug this man-made years and years ago to build up a road, look like. So they just had drag line cut a ditch on each side here. But I'll bet you at times there'd be redfish up in these things. Go up in this little thing and look around. Go up in here. So you just got to explore. Anytime you run across anything like this right here, just poke your boat in there and look. Come up to this little point. Guarantee you, I'd be ready to hook up when I throw it across here with my first cast, because I love fishing these points. Anything little pops out a little bit. I have been here in a regular boat and caught fish along this edge. But here's a little example of what I look for as marshes and stuff. And it's an ideal setup here. You got a gut here, and it looks pretty deep from there. Now, guys, don't get mad at me if y'all see something, y'all go over there and it's grass and it's not real great, because you don't know till you go. I didn't know till I went to the spots I found, and some were good and some wasn't so good. But this looks good right here. And even if this is not good, it's a chance that this bank right here would be good. But these little cuts, that's a prime example of one that, even though a full-grown boat can get up in this one, he's not likely can get up here, but it looks pretty good for his kayaks to get up. all the way in through here, all the way up into this little marsh, and on and on. I mean, it's you might even run out of water here in a kayak, look like on this little ditch, but you can get here, I'm pretty sure, just looking at it. But that's what I look for, these kind of little marshes and stuff. Now, this time of year, this is not where you can go. You got to wait till the tide comes back. So don't run out there next week during the winter and think that's where you're going to go, because it's kind of like where you have seen my last videos. I'd be out here. I wouldn't be up in here because but then again, all the fish that were up here had to fall out in here, so you can still come out here. And if you catch a south wind blowing this time of year is when you want to come, because this was done in February and they had looked like a northwest wind by the way the waves are coming against this bank. But on a south wind, this bank would be pretty calm. Excuse me there. But the only deal about that is if it's a south wind blowing, you get back over to your right here, and then you're going to be going against the wind for this little short paddle to get back. But that's not very far. I mean, not for a kayaker. But okay, that's a couple of things to look for and specific spots I would try if I was you. Now, granted, there's spots like this that I have not personally went to, but that's what I do. I look at places that I've never been and I see things like that and I go check it out. If you know where Magnolia Beach is at, I always wanted to go up in here. Now, it is grassy right through here because I was looking at this road here and I even took it street level. They got a stop sign here and I'm thinking, well, if it's a stop sign, wouldn't this be a public road? Well, I don't think it is. I mean, it's nothing stopping you. I drove all the way down here and I got to right here and I got to looking, but there's a post or two and it's got some purple paint on it and that normally says no trespassing. So I turned around. I'm not going to trespass, but I noticed just sitting here, there was a lot of grass all the way to the top of the water, but could be just right here. But even if it's right here, look at this. Man, look at this. This cut right in here. Oh, I just know that would have to have some fish hanging out in these little marshes. Oh man, all this would be awesome. I don't know if you can get in. I studied this out right here. This might be a public turnaround. Pop in here, shoot over here, cut through all these little things. But there again, it probably needs you have to look at the tide chart. The way we are down here, you get a real strong south wind blowing, the tide might come in even in the wintertime and but I haven't found them to be going back up there yet, but they will. In a few weeks, things will start to change again. But that's kind of what I look for, those kind of deals there. Let me see where we can go now. Or Porta Connor is something that lots of people fish. Just another good example of places I could suggest to you. I've been fishing here a lot. I actually got a story to tell y'all. I did in the 90s get my captain's license. I went to Houston, took me about a week and a half, 2 weeks of training and taking a test with the Coast Guard. So I became a licensed guide for a while. I did that for 2 or 3 years in the 90s. Green Lake kind of got low. We had a hard time fishing out there. And it was pretty good. I mean, I was getting return customers and stuff, but it just wasn't my lifestyle putting up with rich people, snobby rich people. I liked most of the people went out, but then you get some jerks that just, I don't know. It just was more stress than I wanted to deal with. So I just kind of went back to fishing. The lake got right again. So anyway, but I did. I chartered out here. And here, the fishing center, I used to keep my boat right here. These houses were, or not, I don't know what this is, if that's a house or boat lifts or whatever, but they were, none of this was here when I was there. And I had my houseboat, and I had a houseboat sitting there, and that's what I chartered off of. And it parked right there. But anyway, we'd come across, enough of my gabbing, this video is going to get too long. All right, we'd come around here. Well, not we, forget about my houseboat days, but I'm just saying I knew Port Connor pretty well. I don't like to go there now, but too many people. But you can come across this cut from Fishing Center. Just look at all this good ground right here. Now, I would imagine that this is probably, a lot of people will know about this but then again, maybe they don't. You got to come check it out. Look at all that marsh and everything. But again, you're going to need the tide. You're going to need things to come back in. But just come up these little cuts and all the way up into here when the tide gets back. You got these little points, but tons of boats are going to be coming through here, so that's not really great. But you come across here, boats don't come here. Go up in here, go all through these little guts, come around here, go into these. I know for a fact, I've done it many times back then before I was kayaking. A regular boat, I'd pull up and park right here, I'd step out of the boat and I'd walk along here. And I would say at least 90% of the time I did that, I'd hook up with at least one good redfish laying in this ditch. But with a kayak, you can zip around, go through all this and whatever. And this is oysters. You're not going to be able to just drag over here without tearing your boat up. Now, you might drag it up here and go around if you want to pop into this little body of water. But yeah, that's just some spots and just some generalized what I look for when I'm looking. And of course, I go by what direction they face. You know, in the summertime, you got your south winds or whatever. So you want your calm banks here in the summertime. Now, wintertime, these outside banks here have a little windbreak, and you can fish them possibly. So, okay, guys, I don't want to make this thing too long, but I know if you're in a skiff and you take your kayak around, I did a couple of times come up here, and one time I anchored off right here and fished. There was fish here. I caught redfish up in here, and right here, 2 different days. I think I only went out there 2 days, but both days. One time I parked there and I come through here and I caught redfish and trout up in this area. And then that was this other day that I came up here, I parked out here and I come this way and I ended up same place, was catching fish. Tide was pushing through this little cut and it's just a lot of oyster shell right here. You look at it on the map, this is oyster shell here. If you got a GPS and you can mark them areas and drift over them. They're very good in the summer with summer tide. Right now, forget it. I'm making this video at the wrong time. Y'all put it in your favorites file, and in a month or two when the tide comes back, then y'all can look at it for that. I'm just saying. Let's see here. Burp, burp, burp. But that's really too far for paddling. You get this ruler out here. I was going to show y'all on, that's what I told you about the pins right here. Whenever I catch a fish, I come along and I put me a pin right on there, pop that pin down, and that way, hopefully it's only showing up on my map and not, y'all don't find all my pins. Next thing I know, I got 100 boats in my fishing hole. Then I have to go find me a new one. But I normally fish out of Sea Drift, I will tell you that, but I ain't going to tell you exact little spots I go to. But it's not that hard to find, but you pretty much got to have a skiff to get there. It's too far to paddle unless you're going to paddle all day, and by that time I'm coming home. But there's so much good ground. This is more or less, I can show you some stuff, some hypotheticals. You're not going to paddle all the way to Pringle or Connie, although people's done it. I actually chartered with a guy. He ended up hiring me. He had a pretty good deal going out of Charlie's here. Well, Charlie's over here, but this was, oh man, I forget, Full Rooms? I don't know, different cut before the camp took it over. But I'd bring my houseboat from Port O'Connor, and we'd pick up his kayakers that he had booked, and I was just use my boat as a mothership. But before I start doing it, they would leave and they'd go all the way from there. They'd come across this Spiracina Bay all the way to Connie Lake, and then they would fish all this stuff. But man, that would be that's a paddle there, boys. I wouldn't want to do it. But when I chartered, I would we'd set the kayaks on my boat, get us over here, and I would drop them off right here, and he would take them, and he'd take them all through here and get up in the South Pass Lake and whatever, and we'd meet up back over here, and then we'd park the boat at night, and I'd park it right here, and these guys that own this duck camp, they always shine the lights in the water, and that is oh man, trout. Best trout fishing I've ever seen in my life. Big trout under the lights. And the guys over here didn't really like it, but they really couldn't do nothing about it. I mean, they don't own this water. But we would set, and I'd even put my lights on from my boat over here, and and so we weren't just fishing their lights, but we were fishing close, and them trout were just solid right there. I bet they still are. But okay, guys, I don't know if I was going to show you just a paradise for kayakers. Just look at this. If you're in an area and you have something that looks like this, there again, you have to have the tide. But then too much tide is not good either, because you get too much tide, the fish will get up in the weeds and the edges and on top of this stuff. But you get the right tide and you get up in stuff like this, I guarantee this would be some good fishing right here. And if mine ever plays out, I'll have to pony up and go to some of these places, but it's a lot further for me to go. But it is just a paradise over here. And man, that's what you look for. That's what I look for, these kind of stuff. Now during the winter, low tides, well, you still look for that kind of stuff, and then you think, all right, well, everything that's up there can't be up there no more, so they have to fall out into these little deeper waters, so fish these edges of all that. And I even heard a report the other day about South Pass Lake that they were catching them along here. I don't know if that's true or not, but I don't always go by forecasts, because I think sometimes them guys are just diverting you away from where they actually catching fish. So I'm just telling you what to look for. This all looks good too up here. I want to check this out one day, but it's got big cuts like I was telling you, so regular fishing boats control up in all this too. So even though it looks good, it's the big cuts I tend to stay away from. Of course, if you're paddling only and you don't have a skiff and this is the kind of land you got close by, well, by all means, go check it out. But if I can, search out some places that only kayaks can get up in, it'd be like You know, that's a big ditch. But all right, guys, I'm gonna stop right here so we don't have an hour-long video of me yakking. I sure appreciate y'all tuning in, and give me a thumbs up if you like it. And we will see you next time.